Welcome, Hayford Perry Fordson. Hayford is one of our Ignite Fellows through the Ithaca office here, so we're extremely proud to have him join us today. And he is the founder and CEO of Objective pAIn.
Thank you very much for inviting me to the Ignite Connect 2026. My name is Hayford, and today I'm going to talk to you about my company. And the topic that I'm going to be talking to you about is building trust in pain assessment. And again, I am the CEO and the founder of the company. I have Adam Anders, a professor of Cornell and also an affective neuroscientist who is one of our advisors, and also Eve DeRosa, a professor of Cornell University who is also an advisor and a co-founder. I also have Fernando, who is the director of Runway Program, who helps with the business development, and also Dr. Michael Chari of Weill Cornell Medicine. So pain is the #1 reason why people seek healthcare. It is very prevalent in everybody. Every day, millions of people suffer pain that cannot be accurately measured. Clinicians are forced to rely on guessworks, which leads to mistrust, mistreatment, and very often overprescription of opioid. At Objective pAIn, we are focused on building trust in pain assessment, starting with ECG. And the current reality is that when you go to the hospital settings and you are in pain, it starts with the visual analog scale, and then the numeric rating scales that ranges from 0 to 10, and they are asking you on a scale of 0 to 10, how much pain are you in? But it comes with a problem. It leads to untreated pain. We can't treat people's pain if we can't understand them and if they can't communicate their pain. It also leads to clinical and operational consequences where there is under and over treatment of pain. And also patients are forced to stay longer in the hospital since their situations are not well understood. Now, pain is a continuous physiological signal, but we still measure it as a survey. It is also very common in all the hospital settings where ECG is there to measure, continuously, but we just don't use it to understand pain. We have a solution. Our solution is an objective, AI-based method where we take data from the ECG data and then we put it into Objective pAIn's AI model where the patient pain scores, continuous pain score is documented in real time. So we analyze heart activity patterns, provide immediate feedback for continuous monitoring, and we are currently achieving about 98% accuracy in controlled lab setting. So just to give you a brief understanding of how the model works, again, the model is ECG. We take ECG data. This ECG data then goes through an encoder-decoder system that contains noise, because when you're collecting ECG, you know that it obviously contains certain noise. And so the model is there to remove the noise and make sure that the ECG is readable. And then patient pain score, which ranges between 0 to 10, is projected in real time. Now, for the business model, we want to focus on postoperative patient assessment. Now, there are about 310 million surgeries a year. About 124 of those inpatient patient, right? And so we have an idea where in 1 year for the serviceable obtainable market, we are focused on hospitals in New York State. If we take about 20 hospitals where we have about 250 beds and we decide to charge $800 per bed per year, we are hoping to generate about $4 million in revenue. Now, we already have a product concept. We have a functioning AI model. We have filed our patents. And this year, we want to focus on clinical validation where we'll be doing hospital pilots and also to engage with early adopters, key opinion leaders to understand where we need to move forward, and also to focus on research and development and also have discussions with the FDA. 2027, we'll continue to do market due diligence, gain insight into the target market, refine our algorithm based on the hospital pilot that we've done, and also file for regulatory application. By 2028, we should be commercial version ready and have bench validation. 2029, we'll be having clinical partnership and be validating our model in terms of risk and cybersecurity. And in 2030, we should be FDA cleared and be ready for full commercialization. The recent milestones that we've achieved is that we've been able to partner with AliveCore, where we've secured one of their their devices that we'll be using to collect data, because we need to have our own benchmark data set. And also, we've also had a partnership with Weill Cornell Medicine, working with one of the clinicians there for clinical study. We've also filed for IRB application with Cornell and are waiting for approval. I'm asking for $500,000, and these funds will be used to develop a minimum viable product, validate accuracy in a pilot study, and also to secure the regulatory pathways. These monies will be used in terms of product development, teams and operation, pay for our IP, and also for the clinical validation. I want to thank you very much for your time, and I'm just here to answer any questions you may have for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hayford. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask?
I have a question.
Right.
So the pain is, I mean, it's very challenging, am I right? So the pain is not physiologically specific to ECG and HRV alone. So because like, how do you distinguish pain from anxiety or exertion or emotional stress? And especially from a regulatory side, that's how do you distinguish that? I mean, or how do you distinguish from these like anxiety, movement, or even medication or chronic autonomic adoption? And especially like when you look into real world evidence, when you come out of a lab setting.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. And one of the things that our model is doing, and one of the things that we are doing that is different from what a lot of people there are doing, is the fact that our model is able to differentiate between physical pain, nociception, which is something that is very prevalent, from physiological distress. So basically, that pain is subjective, right? But sometimes people are in pain, they don't know whether this pain is actually where the pain is coming from, right? So what we've trained the model to do is that we want to find a pain point, whether what you are going through is physical pain or physiological distress. So with the ECG, we are focused on whilst you are going through, currently as we are doing our study, whilst you are going through certain procedures that are able to derive pain out of you, we are monitoring to see whether what you are going through is physical pain or has it got something to do with emotional distress, which has to do with stress, emotions, and not that physical pain. So the model can be able to pinpoint and let the patient know, or the clinicians know, to be able to assess and have medication for their patients, whether what they are going through is physical pain or emotional distress.
How quickly can something like this be deployed? You mentioned that usually pain is the number one reason people seek healthcare. So if they're in severe pain, how long will your system take to evaluate what level of pain they're in?
So currently, we have a data that within 30 seconds, we can be able to let a patient know their pain scores in real time. Yeah. So within 30 seconds, the patient will be able to know their pain scores.
And you can use the same system to monitor the patient so that if they are, you can watch the effect of the pain relief you provided.
Exactly. So normally, especially with postoperative patients, what happens is that when they come and their pain are being assessed, they ask them, how are you feeling? I'm feeling well. And then there's no continuous monitoring. And so they let them go home. And then over time, they come again into the hospital with the same problem. But with our system, there's continuous monitoring. So you monitor your pain after your medication. So there's a baseline. Your baseline is being taken prior to you having that surgery, right? So after surgery, they take your pain scores to understand what you are going through. Then over time, whilst you are going through that medication, your pain scores are beginning to see improvement. So probably your pain scores is going to be 8 after medication. Is it coming down to 7? Is it coming down to 4? And so that continuous monitoring helps the clinicians have a better understanding of their patients, and then have a better, intervention as far as their pain medications and making sure they get better is concerned.
And when you say continuous ECG monitor, are you talking about the 12 leads or the 3 leads, or using that cardia? And what is the frequency of measurement that is required for patients?
So for example, in the Weill Cornell, they use 12 lead, but with 2 lead, 6 lead, we can be able, just any ECG recording that can measure the PQRS, we extract those features that has to do with heart rate variability. The model is able to predict that. So it doesn't matter how many lead, whether it's 6 lead, 2 lead, or 12 lead. Since it's an ECG data, our model calibrates the ECG data to get the maximum and the minimum within a short period of time, and being able to, just project the patient pain score in real time. So it doesn't matter what kind of level of ECG or EKG that the patient uses to take their data.